You definitely need to rent a van before buying one, at least to validate your assumptions. As stated in the last video, this is not a blog about van life. It's a blog about using a conversion van as an everyday van. I'm not going to live in the van, sell my house, or even use the toilet in the van. It's about having a vehicle to address all the little discomforts of a regular car. I mean, life is short. I've wanted a van for a long time, so I finally decided to rent one for the weekend. I went to Outdoorsy and chose one that was close to my house. The cons of renting were that there's an early pickup fee, which basically means you're renting for more days than you want, and you can't leave for a road trip early, like 8 a.m. without paying an extra cost. There are cleanup fees, mileage fees over a certain amount. I think ours was $100, and I had to get RV insurance as regular car insurance doesn't cover the rental. The pros of renting are obviously it's cheaper to rent than to buy a van. And you get to try out various vehicles and try before you buy. And you get to try out different features and layout. I rented a Thor Sequence, and here's a photo of it parked next to my Tesla Model 3. As you can see, it looks almost twice as long as my current car, and one of my fears is that it would be difficult to park and drive. The rear had a toilet and a shower, which is probably why the vehicle was so long. Alright, time for the first drive. Driving it on the road, it felt like a normal car. Success. I was able to fully stand up at 5'1". Success. My kids are 5'10", and they were also able to stand upright. But there's still trash all over the floor, so fail on that front. As the hours passed by, the floor and the interior were progressively getting messier. Okay, maybe I'm just a messy person, and no matter how large a van is, it will always be messy. The passengers had to sit sideways, so their necks started to kink as they looked out the front window. Fail. I would choose a van where the seats face forward. The entire ride, my kids were laying down, sleeping or gaming. So success. They look as happy as the kids from video 1. At our first stop, the kids were able to get out without fighting. In the last video, they're always fighting when getting out of the minivan. The third row wants to get out fast, ejects the seat on the second row, and fighting happens. So no fighting on getting out of the conversion van equals success. One of my fears was parking. Luckily, the lot was empty and I parked away from the other cars. But in the morning, the lot was full and I did need help backing out to not hit the other cars, especially since this was a rental. We weren't going to sleep in the van, although it was possible. But then we wouldn't have pool time and to be able to spread out in the hotel room. I'm starting to see two consistent themes. I'm a messy person and the kids are always laying down. The next day we went to Pismo Beach. This was during the height of COVID, probably when most van lifers started a real van life. The roads were empty and there were plenty of parking spaces. The weird thing is the police stopped across the street to watch us. Not sure what that was about because we parked on the public side of the street. After we had breakfast, we stopped off at Dinosaur Park, the typical stop we make when going down the 101 to let the kids play. Back on the road, more laying down. One of my kids set up a camping chair to face forward because his neck started to hurt. Due to COVID, the hotels in LA were not accepting any leisure or personal bookings, even though the Booking.com app let me book a room. So we had to make a U-turn and go back home. So we went up Highway 101 to Big Sur. Again, leaving the van, no fighting. Success. More laying down as we headed home. They aren't really asleep. I guess the bed is just inviting. And then I returned the van. Impressions. It was a long van. I tried to park away from the other cars where there were open spaces on either side of the van. Backing up was a bit hard and I had to get passengers to help me. For gas, we went to Costco. It was nice to be able to fill up gas at Costco as it wasn't a diesel car. Even though it had a shower and a toilet, we didn't use it. I didn't want to deal with gray water disposal. There was a sink in the van which we didn't use, but when the sink lid moved, it really smelled. The bench-style beds were long side, which meant the passengers would sit in one direction while their heads were facing another, causing all of them to get kinky neck. The platform bed wasn't raised, so I felt there was a lot of wasted space. There was the pedestal table, but I was too lazy to install it, and after I installed it, I was too lazy to put it back. But it felt awesome to be able to stand up whenever I wanted, and no one was fighting when they were getting out. Conclusion. Do I still want a van? Yes, being able to stand up was freedom. And I've calculated that I'm going to use the van multiple times a week. So renting one consistently will start to add up. See my next video on my cost-benefit analysis. After renting the van, I've concluded that I need to buy a smaller one, a short wheelbase, which we'll cover in the next video. I don't need a shower or toilet, and I don't need a sink. I prefer to get a gas vehicle versus a diesel. And for me, the safety features are more important than the layout. For instance, my Sedona has a 360 camera, blind spot alert, and dynamic cruise control, which makes a world of difference in safety. In my next set of videos, we'll talk about knowing yourself before going in. Are you a DIY? Class B research, loan, car versus RV, insurance, and yes, finally picking up the van. Until next time, thanks for watching.